Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday, December 9th, 2020, and we are 2 days from the first preseason game for our New York Knicks, and we're very excited about that. And then, of course, we got preseason's going to last about a week, and then a week later, the regular season starts. But anyway, I hope you're all safe. I hope you're all healthy. I hope you're all having your needs met today, and that you're being blessed today and taken care of. Today, yesterday, our brother Kevin Knox, they had him at media talk to him yesterday. And every day we're getting a little more hints, ideas, if we're listening, of what we can expect to see from the New York Knicks this year. We're getting a little bit of hints every day. I mean, some of it is obvious. Like, for example, when, Thibodeau talks, of course, we have already talked about, the Knicks focus on defense this year. And so we expect that. We expect the defensive focus to be here this year, to be real this year. But, something else came out yesterday that they really have been telling us. They have been telling us. But, I guess because, I'm a little thick myself and then also, but it hit me yesterday when Kevin Knox came to the podium and started, answering questions yesterday. And I'm pulling up something else for y'all for this video here that I want to discuss. Okay, here we are. Okay. So let's listen to Kevin for, less than a minute, I think it is, but he said some very important things yesterday. Let's listen to him about the question that was asked him.
With the young guys, we really got a lot of young talent on the team. So, we really be running in transition a lot in practice, using our athleticism, getting out on the fast break. So, I think the way that Coach really wants us to play this year is really fast because we're so young. And we got a lot of athleticism. So, he really wants us to fly up and down the court, which is kind of something different than last year.
So, actually, Thibodeau said the other day, Coach Thibs said that they're young and athletic and they wanted to take advantage of that. And, honestly, I thought about it and said, well, what's the best way to take advantage of youth and athleticism, right? And I'm focused on Thibs focusing on defense. So how do you take advantage of youth and athleticism on a basketball team? Well, the best way to take advantage of athleticism is to run, right? And Thibs said they wanted to take advantage of that. And now Kevin has said they want to run. It's interesting too. When you listen to Kevin talk, when you listen to Mitchell Robinson talk, when you listen to Frank Ntilikina talk, and then you listen to Thibs, you can see these kids, it's like having little kids. They're very impressionable, right? They're young. All of these guys, Kevin's 21, Mitchell's 22, Frank's 22, RJ is 20. They're very impressionable. And so they are being now at this stage, the really good thing is they're all being molded. And that's what's dangerous when you don't have a proper development program on a professional basketball team. Sometimes you put a player that could be a really good player and they never reach their potential because their foundation was built really bad. And they got into bad habits on bad teams, bad organizations. Well, the Knicks were like that. But not now. As we said, we're not on crack anymore. Although I think, what's the brother's name? VT number? I forgot his name, but he said the Knicks are not on crack anymore, but we still got a lot of crack babies in Knick Nation. And that's absolutely true. Oh, before I go on, let me say this. I went to sleep last night. Sometimes I fall asleep really early. And last night I was out already I had watched Netflix and I fell out. And then I woke up and it was like 10 to 9 and I was out. I was like, you know what? So I turned everything off and I went to sleep about 10 to 9. But of course, when I do that, I wake up really early. So I woke up around 1:30 in the morning and then I couldn't sleep. So I went on my phone and it just so happened that, there was a Knicks, podcast on live and it was, Blarange, I think the brother's name is BL Orange Tears. I recommend the channel. He really does a good job. It's a little Maury Povich where they have, everybody in boxes like Hollywood Squares and they arguing and stuff about the Knicks, but it's good. It's really good. I recommend Blanche Tears. If you want another Knicks content channel, to watch. It's pretty cool. I like it. And the fellas that's on there are like the usual suspects. You see them on Knicks Fan TV sometimes in terms of they're calling people or chat in Knicks Fan TV or Nothing But Knicks, my other two favorite channels. But Blanche Tears is another one, up and coming channel I would definitely recommend. I like it. So I was watching that for a while. They didn't know I was there because I didn't chat or anything. I was just listening and watching. It was cool though. Also tonight, Sim and I are going to try to get together with Eru tonight. I think it's at 6:00. And we're going to try to do a little thing for like an hour today. So just letting y'all know about that as well. So anyway, running. Kevin just talked about getting up and down. So if you notice now, like I said, Kevin, for example, Kevin said, if you listen to, I think he's done 3 interviews now in this format. He did the media day last week. There was another one after a practice and this one here. And one thing he keeps saying, right? One statement keeps coming out of his mouth. I'm trying to get better each and every day. I'm trying to get better each and every day. I take shots each and every day. I lift weights each and every day. I'm trying to get better each and every day. Who does that sound like? That's Tom Thibodeau. Okay. That's Tom Thibodeau and Kenny Payne. Right? And it's getting to him I have not seen confidence exude from Kevin since he's been in the league like this. He really is confident. Why? Aside from the coaching staff, that is we have a real one. Aside from that, and he says the organization is behind me. All those people that keep mentioning Kevin in trade talks, y'all need to stop. Stop it. I mean, and I'm just telling y'all, Knicks Nation, when people start mentioning our youth in trade talks, they're not with us. They're not of us. Okay, they're not. Cause they ain't trading this kid. And he said the organization is behind me. Okay, that means they've given him assurances. We working with you, kid. We working with you. Okay. Now, when you hear him talk so confidently though, some of Kevin's, if you've been watching Kevin, even if you're a detractor, but some of Kevin's best moments have come when they're running, right? When they're running a break. Some of Kevin's best moments have come in those situations. So then I'm thinking, and then of course you hear Frank Ntilikina say, when he was in listen to what he said. He said, we want to work on and deal with things that we can control. Who does that sound like? That's Tom Thibodeau. Okay. That's Tom Thibodeau. And then of course, Mitchell Robinson, he comes in and he says, not a lot of offense, a lot of defense. Who is that? That's Tom Thibodeau. So he's already putting his stamp on these young players. He's already in their heads, which is in this case a good thing. He's in their heads. They're digesting what he's saying and they're bought in. See, we've all seen it. You've been around for a minute. You've already seen this lots of times. Whenever players stop buying in, you've lost the team. That's it. And you're not going to win any games. Okay. No matter how talented the team is. When all your players, when you start losing them and they're not bought into your system anymore, that happened to Fizdale last year when he only won 4 games and lost 18. They stopped buying in after a while. The sales talk, this used car salesman stuff wasn't working and they stopped buying in. Okay. And then Miller came and they had hope again and they bought back in. Okay. So Thibs has all of these young kids bought in. They're all in now. Okay. They bought into him. And that's very important because even if your talent is mediocre, if your whole team is 100% bought in to a system that's proven to work in terms of winning games, you're going to outperform. You're going to overperform because that's a recipe. That's an atmosphere for overperforming. Okay. So they're going to run. Now, I was thinking about that. And the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun. When somebody say, hey, this is new, it said you could look back and see it's been done already. Well, think about this, especially you older heads that have been watching the Knicks for a while. What coach of the Knicks played a combination of high pressure defense and an open running, ball movement, fast breaking offense? What coach did we have that played a really high pressure defense and a running, open flow, ball moving, fast breaking offense. Before I tell you, I will tell you that he coached this other team once that, okay, when the Knicks, make a long story short, I was very angry at the Knicks for a couple of seasons back in 74, 75, 75, 76. Why? My favorite player was one of my favorite players on the Knicks at that time was Walt Frazier. Walt Frazier was asking for some more money, and I think he should have got it. I was a kid, of course. I was 14, 15. I was like, yeah, pay Clyde whatever he wants. Well, they didn't. And Clyde ended up going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I was so pissed off. I became a Celtics fan for like 2 or 3 seasons. I was very pissed off at the Knicks. Yeah. So some of you are talking about they're going to lose me. I totally understand where you're at, but it takes something like that for me to go because I was so mad. I mean, I was just angry. So I was like, and so I became a Celtics fan for like 2 or 3 years, despite the Knicks. And my favorite player on the Celtics was JoJo White. Okay. JoJo White, him, and there was a guy back in Philadelphia in the 60s named Archie Clark. Those are the original crossovers. Those are the original crossovers without palming the ball. Y'all know what I'm talking about, you old school. That's original crossovers right there. But anyway, this coach that I'm talking about that plays the high pressure defense and a fast break offense, he also coached the Celtics at one point. Okay. His name, ready? Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino was coach of the Knicks for how many seasons did Rick coach? I know he coached 87, 88. He coached 88, 89. And that was it. He coached 2 seasons. Then he went and left and went to Kentucky and began the Kentucky dynasty there, But, he coached 87, 88. And the Knicks, prior to that, they were 24 and 58. And they had 2 coaches. They had Bob Hill, who was the initial coach in 86, 87. He was a disaster. I remember him. And then they had Hubie Brown, who a guy I really liked, who had been coached before, but his second stint didn't work out too well. He was 4-12. So the next season they brought in Rick Pitino, who had, I think, he had been coaching at Providence at that time. And so Rick installed a very high pressure, fast break system into the Knicks. And it was exciting to watch. And that was when they had Mark Jackson. Their roster was interesting. They had Mark Jackson, Patrick Ewing. That first season, they had Kenny Skywalker out of Kentucky. Remember him, Kenny Walker? They had Gerald Wilkins, Dominique Wilkins' brother. They had a guy named Sidney Green, who was from New York. And I think Sidney Green went to, he went to St. John. No, he went to Nevada, Las Vegas, but he was from New York. And then they had Johnny Newman and Trent Tucker. And that was their crew. It wasn't like overwhelmingly talented. That's my point. It wasn't overwhelmingly talented, but because of that system, and he played a lot of guys. He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 guys got 15 minutes or more a game. Okay. 11. In that system, you need a lot of guys because it takes a lot of energy to play that system. So that first year, they went from winning the year before, they had won 24 games. The next year, they won 38 games. They were 38-44. And then the next season, they had Bill Cartwright on the team. They traded Bill Cartwright and they got a guy some all-time favorite for us Knicks fans. They got a guy named Charles Oakley. Okay. And the next season, how many games they won that next season? They won a lot of games that next season. They won 52 games the next season. Okay. I think they would have kept going, but then again, they did keep going in a way because after that, the Knicks kept winning, because they had, eventually, they ended up getting Pat Riley. They had Stu Jackson, then they got Pat Riley, and then they got Van Gundy. And there was like a 10-year stretch where the Knicks were winning 50 and 60 games, 55, 57, 60. And that's when, Knicks were in their heyday in the 90s. But a little off topic. But anyway, I'm thinking now we're getting a picture. You're going to have Thibs running a Pitino style system. That's why, see, if you're going to run, for example, with Mike D'Antoni, he liked to run. Mike D'Antoni liked to run. And his offense was nicknamed, 7 seconds or less, SSOL, 7 seconds or less, because they would get the ball at the court quick and get a shot off in 7 seconds. Problem with that, of course, as we know from having him coach us, there's no defense in Mike D'Antoni's systems. There's no defense. Now, later in his career, recently with the Rockets, what he was doing is adding defensive players. Okay, like he had Robert Covington, and he had Clint Capella. He added some defensive players to his, Tucker, but he never had a defensive system. There's a difference. Thibodeau has a defensive system that he runs. Okay, it's different from just sticking good defensive players in and letting them guard people. That's not a system. But Thibodeau is going to run a defensive system on defense. And what that requires is a lot of body movement, a lot of running. Okay, a lot of covering spaces and covering ground. As I said, like with a Mitchell Robinson, one of the things that impressed me about him from even the beginning, when they got him, was the amount of space he covers with his athleticism and the quickness with which he covers it. That's important when you're running a defensive system. Guys like that become very important because you want to be able to cover ground quickly to cover shooters and to cover open people when you don't want them to shoot the ball and you want to get to somebody that can't shoot, right? So you got to be able to move in a defensive system like that. Thibodeau demands that. So he's going to have that, but then they're going to run. Now, generally, when a team, you have two types of running team. You got the running type team that runs like an opportunistic fast break team. And generally those type of opportunistic teams that run when they get the opportunity are rebounding teams because the best way to run a fast break is when you get the defensive rebound, right? You get a stop, you get a defensive rebound and you're off, right? You're out and that ball is moving up the court. But there's a team that's more committed to running is a team that will run. And this is Pitino's teams that will run not only off a rebound, but off made baskets. So in other words, the other team makes a basket. You get the ball out of bounds up the court as quickly as possible into the opposing team's front court. You cause them to have to sprint back and set up quick because you're up the court already. Okay. This is what I think we're going to expect from Thibodeau this year. And you know what? No matter who plays Friday and Sunday against Detroit, that I think that's going to be the most important thing I would be looking for. Now, I won't be able to watch the Friday night game, but I'm going to see the replay, on Saturday night and then watch the Sunday game. But I'm looking for that. I'm not even care about who the rotations. I'm looking for that. I want to see that defensive style and I want to see how they push the ball because that is why. Because of course, Thibodeau always wants his players in shape because of the amount of minutes he plays. But one thing that this caused me to rethink is if you play like that, okay, he's going to definitely be looking at 10 deep. No question. He's looking at 10 deep and it's going to take that. And the players that we're talking about, the young players, let's just say all the youth we got, all of our 22 and under guys, and even Dennis Smith who's 23 now, all of those guys would flourish in that type of offense. Okay. So the question is they're not going to be like 7 seconds or less where they're giving up baskets. See, that's what's going to make it good because we're going to be playing high pressure defense and then running. That takes a lot of energy. So you're going to have to go 10 deep. So it almost, when you're thinking about it like that, it almost doesn't matter who starts. It really doesn't. What will matter really, and I know it's cliche, but what's going to matter in those games is who's playing the fourth quarter. That's going to matter. And it's not going to be hard to see who should be playing the fourth quarter by watching who plays the first three and who plays the best, who's doing the best job. You're going to put them in the fourth quarter. Okay. So I expect now Mitch and Noel are going to get a lot of minutes. Obi and Randall are going to get a lot of minutes. Frank and Alfred are going to get a lot of minutes. RJ and Kevin are going to get a lot of minutes. And also, did you hear what Kevin said? He said they brought in some veterans to support the younger players. As we've been saying all along, they did not bring these 1-year deals in here to take over. They brought them in here to teach the youth, as Thibs said, tricks of the trade and to support them. Okay. So Alfred's going to play because, Alfred, we know, not only can he not shoot, he was 20% from three last year, but he can't even shoot foul shots. Like he's below 60%. I think it was 57% from the line last year. I mean, he's a horrible shooter, but he's really good in the open court. Elfrid Payton. I mean, and he's a good defender, and he's really good in open court. This type of system is built for Elfrid Payton. Okay, I favor Frank above Elfrid Payton, but I'm not worried now because both of them are going to be playing a lot. Both of them are going to be playing a lot. Okay, and as I told y'all before, I'm telling you now, don't be surprised if you see them paired, Frank and Elfrid. Don't be surprised. At certain stages of the games, you're going to see them together in the backcourt, and that's probably when we're going to play our best defense because those two guys play defense, man. And so you got that. Kevin, that's why Kevin was so confident. They're going to get out and run. Only thing he needs to make sure he does, which I am sure now that he is doing, he has to improve on defense. He has to. He has to be aware. He can't be lost on defense. Like that was his problem. See, as I said about Randall, sometimes Randall just didn't care. He just let people go. He just did. Kevin cares, but he was getting, his head was getting spun around too often. His head was getting spun around, people getting behind him. He didn't know he was in the wrong position, oftentimes. I think that'll get solved this year. I'm really thinking that's going to get solved this year. He's going to be in the right spot. He's going to play better defense. And when he does and they run, that brother, when Kevin Knox is on a break, he really is good. I mean, you go back and look at some of the videos of him just running breaks, man. That cat is something else. And then what he said and what Thibs said. When he's taking good shots, he's hitting them. Okay? When he's taking bad shots and forcing it is when he misses. Kevin is a good shooter. He really is. So if he's going to get corner threes and spot up threes in this type of offense, which he will, brethren, I'm keeping my win total at 31. But I won't be surprised if they outperform that. Just based on what Pitino did with the Knicks in 87. A very similar roster. At 87, look at this now. In 87, right? Look at this now. You had Ewing, and obviously Ewing, that's Ewing, right? So he's a stud. And you had Mark Jackson at 22. Gerald Wilkins, 24. Patrick Ewing, 25. Kenny Walker, who was athletic, could run, but couldn't shoot. Kenny Walker was 23. Sidney Green was 27. Newman was 24. Okay. And then you had some veteran guys at that time. Cartwright was 30. He didn't play as much. He played 20 minutes a game. Trent Tucker was 28. These guys like that. You had Pat Cummings. I remember him from when he played at Cincinnati. He was 31 already. So, and then there was a couple of interesting players they had that didn't get a lot of time. There was a guy at the end of the bench. He would get 8 minutes a game. Billy Donovan. There was another guy at the end of the bench. He would get 8 minutes a game. Rick Carlisle. They were on that team. But when that's a roster that, in my opinion, when you take off Patrick Ewing, is not as talented as the kids we have now overall. Okay. Mark Jackson was tremendous. We know that, right? But he was in his, I think he was in his second year then. I think he was. He had been rookie of the year the year before that. And he was in his second year, Mark Jackson. And so, he was good, obviously. But overall, talent-wise, when you're talking about Kevin, when you're talking about Mitchell, when you're talking about RJ, overall, our guys are younger and just, if not more as talented, if not more talented than what that team had. I'm really thinking that they have a good shot at overperforming this year. They have a good shot at that. And they're going to run about 10 deep. They may go 11, but I know they're going to run 10 deep. That's why they signing all these guys, man. They're going to need bodies that are athletic, that could run. And that's why, they need to be in shape anyway, right? For Thibs' system, just a regular system. But when you're talking about running, as your offense, that's why Mitchell Robinson said we haven't spent a lot of time on offense because they're going to run. They're going to run. They're going to need to make good passes. They're going to need to make passes that move the ball forward. Frank is very good at that. So is Elfrid Payton. RJ excels in both the half court. That's why I'm saying RJ going to be a stud. He's good in both the half court and a running offense. RJ can do both. Okay. So that's no problem. Mitchell Robinson, we know can run and he's athletic. And so is Nerlens Noel. Brethren, our Knicks are going to be a fast breaking team this year. A high pressure defense, fast breaking team. A Rick Pitino style team. That's what they're going to be this year. And man, that's good. That's very good. So now we kind of getting a picture. And that's why, okay, at this point, it doesn't even matter who the starting five is. It doesn't, because they're going to be running. They're going to bring a second unit in that's going to be running. Okay. So I think this is going to be all right. I think we're going to be in good shape, y'all. I think we're going to be in good shape. I think we will. And we're going to see, that's what I'll be looking for from these 2 games Friday. Let's see how much they actually get out and run and what it looks like. Shalom. Have a good day.